Howdy folks, Celoth here. I hope you're doing well this morning. If I seem a little tired, it's because I am, because I live in the Great Plains and last night was a late night watching tornadoes. But I'm safe. I hope everybody else is safe, and I wanted to talk a little bit this morning about the new Padawan Obi-Wan Kit. Talk a little bit about what I think Queen Amidala's squad is starting to look at, and particularly I wanted to dive into Padawan Obi-Wan, or POW, P-O-W, however you want to say it, how his Conquest Omicron looks, because on its surface it looks better than Sorty's Conquest Omicron. The question is the value really actually there? And we've got some data to go into. So if you don't want to hear me ramble, look in the timestamp. I'll mark that to where you can just skip ahead. Otherwise, let's talk a little bit about the kit. So we've got Padawan Obi-Wan announced, just like kind of we knew was coming. He is a light side Galactic Republic Jedi attacker. Everything we assumed. And you'll see he's got just a ton of synergy with Master Qui-Gon and Queen Amidala. So basic ability, practiced aggression. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Deal physical damage, inflict potency down on target enemy for 1 turn. If that enemy has 50% or more health, Padawan Obi-Wan gains 20% turn meter and gains foresight for 1 turn. Deal 5% more damage, stacking up to 50% for each stack of heal over time Padawan Obi-Wan has. If there was a Master Qui-Gon at the start of battle, if there was an ally Master Qui-Gon, if the target enemy has less than 50% health, Padawan Obi-Wan gains defense penetration up and offense up for 1 turn. That probably sounds familiar because that is very, very close to Grandmaster Yoda's basic. It's physical damage instead of special damage. It's got some particular synergy with heal over times, which is a theme with Padawan Obi-Wan's kit. And then it's got synergy with Master Qui-Gon. But ultimately, this is kind of a rehash of Grandmaster Yoda's basic. Special ability, redirected blast. Deal physical damage to target enemy. Daze them for 2 turns. If this attack critically hits, remove 100% turn meter from the target, and Padawan Obi-Wan gains 100 speed for 2 turns. This attack can't be evaded. So, physical damage with a 2-turn daze, that's already okay. But if it crits, remove all of their turn meter, and POW, P-O-W, gains 100 speed for 2 turns. That seems really big, and of course, as we'll continue to see, he's got more critical hit kind of synergy. So you can already tell modding him is going to be crit damage, crit chance, that kind of thing. Second special is Sweeping Assault. Deal physical damage and inflict defense down for 2 turns on all enemies. Then if there's an active Queen Amidala, deal damage again. And they did say the order of operations on that is kind of what it says, is AoE damage, then defense down, then another instance of AoE damage. Gives Galactic Republic Jedi allies crit chance up and offense up for 2 turns. So his unique nobility and restraint. This is where it gets really interesting. At the start of the battle, he gains 25% crit chance for each other Galactic Republic ally. So he's going to gain up to 100% crit chance from a full team of Galactic Republic, right? It says other Galactic Republic allies, so it does not count himself, but if you're on a 5v5 team, that's going to be 4 Galactic Republic allies, so that's going to total for, 100% crit chance. If there's an ally Master Qui-Gon and Queen Amidala, Padawan Obi-Wan gains discipline until the end of battle, which can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted. And we'll just skip down here to the bottom to say that discipline is attacks cannot be countered. Whenever this character gains a stack of protection over time, they also gain a stack of heal over time for 2 turns. And this character's attacks ignore protection. Now, protection over time is something that Queen Amidala is giving out quite a bit. Also, Queen Amidala has a lot of heal over time synergy, so already we can tell this unique is really hard coding Padawan Obi-Wan to be with Master Qui-Gon and Queen Amidala. There's no doubt in my mind that's the 3v3 team. Moving onward, Padawan Obi-Wan has 5% crit chance with a max 50% stacking. So for each heal over time on him, by the way. So as long as you have at least 10 heal over times, he's going to have up to 50% crit chance on top of the extra 100% crit chance he's getting from Galactic Republic allies. And he gains 5% critical damage, stacking up to 50% for each stack of protection over time on him. So again, just strong crit synergy, strong heal over time, protection over time synergy. Then if there's an ally Master Qui-Gon, whenever he uses an ability, Padawan Obi-Wan assists, dealing 40% less damage. So that's whenever Master Qui-Gon uses an ability, Padawan Obi-Wan assists. The first time Master Qui-Gon is defeated, Padawan Obi-Wan takes a bonus turn, gains 5% offense for each relic amplifier level Master Qui-Gon had for 4 turns. So they're doing this more to where they are further emphasizing higher relics mechanically in the kit, right? For a while, it was only, do Relic 8, Relic 9 on things that are requirements or things that are tanks, since tanks get the most out of it. Now, Master Qui-Gon may be a tank. He may be support. But it looks like just from this line in Obi-Wan's kit, you're honestly going to be incentivized to take Master Qui-Gon up to high relic. I would say at least relic 7. Again, we don't know the kit, so we don't know. But, if you're gaining 5% offense for each relic amplifier he's got, that's going to be 35% for Relic 7. That's going to be 45% for Relic 9. The higher you can take it, the better, obviously. Obviously, you don't want him to die at all. You're going to want this team on defense, I think. But, always helps. This is a big line. If there is an active handmaiden decoy, which that's particular to Queen Amidala, Padawan Obi-Wan grants her 50% defense. So, he, again, strong synergy with Master Qui-Gon and Queen Amidala. If Padawan Obi-Wan is active, whenever another ally is critically hit, they gain defense up for 1 turn, and Padawan Obi-Wan gains critical damage up for 1 turn. So that's his primary kit. He's not all that hard to understand, right? He has a ton of focus on critical hits, and he's got a ton of focus on synergizing with Master Qui-Gon and Queen Amidala. This next bit is what makes him interesting, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit more, because he has a Conquest Omicron. The Omicron is in 4 parts, right? To start out, allies gain 10% max health and max protection, and gain 30 speed. So 10% max health and protection, 30 speed, and gain an additional 10% max health and max protection for each relic amplifier Padawan Obi-Wan has. So, you're going to get, if he's at relic 7, you're going to get 70% max health and 70% max protection, just, from him having this Omicron in Conquest. Also, this is kind of a funny, he cut Darth Maul in half. He cuts the offense of Sith enemies in half until the end of battle. I don't know that that's going to be incredibly relevant, but it's a neat little, flavor call out. The next part, Padawan Obi-Wan has a 50% chance to take a bonus turn whenever an enemy ends their turn. When Padawan Obi-Wan starts this bonus turn, allies recover 75% health, gain 75% offense for 2 turns, and enemies are inflicted with buff immunity and healing immunity for 2 turns, which can't be resisted. So, if you have played Conquest at all, you know that you have to bring the right teams in, otherwise you're just going to get demolished. Conquest teams are jacked up. They've got really high stats. They've got really high speed. It's very easy to go into Conquest and get just turn meter trained from, these very high speed enemies. One of the better datacron or data discs that they've added into Conquest has a similar effect to this, where whenever an enemy finishes their turn, you get to take a bonus turn on one of your characters. This is a 50% chance for that, but it also comes with a lot of other things. So when you have those enemies who are taking turn after turn after turn after turn, this is going to trigger, it's going to heal your guys, it's going to buff your guys, and it's going to debuff the enemy with buff immunity and healing immunity. Which is something that can actually work against some of the feat farming that we've done in the past. But overall, this, obviously very useful. And obviously both of those things are more about just making Conquest easier to deal with. Similar to Swordy's Conquest Omicron, it's just about making it to where you can do those battles easier, which is something that traditionally players at a higher GP level don't really worry about. So, the next two bits are the ones that are maybe a little interesting. If Padawan Obi-Wan's stamina is 50% or more, whenever an ally uses a special ability, they inflict accuracy down, crit chance down, crit damage down, defense down, evasion down, offense down, potency down, speed down, tenacity down, and stagger on target enemy for 2 turns, which can't be evaded. Likewise, if his stamina is 50% or greater, whenever Padawan Obi-Wan uses a special ability, allies gain accuracy up, crit chance up, crit damage up, defense up, evasion up, offense up, potency up, speed up, and tenacity up for 2 turns. So, that's where this gets interesting, right? We have seen those feats in Conquest where, it's inflict evasion down 80 times and gain defense up 40 times and things like that. This Omicron is targeted at those types of feats. So what I wanted to see is, okay, what's the practical impact of that? And I want to take a look at this. Sig, the SWGOH events Discord moderator, puts out a ton of useful info. I have to plug him. You guys have to check out that Discord if you're not. There's so much useful information on that Discord for the community. This being one of them. This, I only went back a few conquests, but he will put out a easy to view on one image overview of the feats in a given conquest cycle. So I went through for a couple of conquests and highlighted, okay, which one of these would Padawan Obi-Wan impact? In Conquest Volume 9, which would have been January of last year, right? He would have been able to do 1 feat, right? Just with this Omicron, right? Which was gain defense up 40 times. It was a Sector 1 feat for 5 key cards. Volume 10, we've got a Sector 1 feat. Attempt to inflict evasion down 40 times, 5 key cards. Gain defense up 40 times, 15 key cards in Sector 5. Volume 11, we've got gain defense up 40 times, 5 key cards, Sector 1. Attempt to inflict stagger 60 times, 10 key cards, Sector 3. Attempt to inflict evasion down 40 times, 10 key cards, Sector 4. Volume 12, this would have been fall 2023. Gain potency up 40 times, 5 key cards in Sector 1. Attempt to inflict stagger 60 times, 10 key cards in Sector 3. Attempt to inflict evasion down 40 times, 10 key cards in Sector 4. Volume 13, crit chance up 40 times, 10 key cards in Sector 3. Potency up 40 times, 5 key cards in Sector 2. Critical damage up 40 times, 10 key cards in Sector 4. And then Volume 14, gain defense up 80 times, 5 key cards in Sector 1. Inflict evasion down 80 times for 15 key cards in Sector 5. And that is the current conquest for Queen Amidala. So, what do we think about that? When I read this Omicron, I was thinking, yes, this is going to make Conquest so much easier. I run 2 accounts. It gets really grindy. Having an Omicron to make those feats go faster is going to be helpful. But then I take a look at it, and really we're talking at least over these past 5 conquests, you're talking anywhere from 5 to 25 key cards, where you have to get, I think, 630 key cards to red crate. So, I don't know. If you are somebody who does not have a well-developed account, this probably is more helpful to you because, A, the Omicron helps you handle Conquest easier, right? It's going to make your team more durable. It's going to kind of minimize the damage that those, high speed, high turn meter gain teams can do in Conquest. So there's going to be value in it for those players in Hard Conquest who aren't doing well in Hard Conquest anyway. Likewise, if you're that character or if you're that player that doesn't have a really broad roster, to where maybe you are struggling with those, gain specific buffs or inflict specific buffs feat. If you're struggling with that, this seems like a great idea, right? But if you are somebody who is engaging in Hard Conquest every season, right? If you're somebody who is actively getting gold box or red box at the end of every conquest, like I think most Kyber players are, I know on both of my accounts that's where I'm at. I don't know that this is super useful, right? The feats that we have trouble getting are the grindier specific feats, inflict plague, inflict armor shred, gain we adapt or die X amount of times. And even those aren't the worst ones compared to things like, survive 20 battles with, these new characters that are marquees that probably anybody except Wales is still working on sharding up. Those are the type of feats that we're having trouble with, and I don't know that this moves the needle on that much. So my initial thought with the POW, PAL, Padawan Obi-Wan, whatever, my initial thought with that Omicron was, yes, this is going to save me so much time. I need to apply this on both accounts. After looking at it, after digging into the details, I don't know that I'm sold on that. So your mileage may vary. If you apply the Omicron once it comes out, in that next conquest cycle, let me know how it goes for you. I would not be surprised if in the next conquest cycle it is more rewarding than normal, right? Because we're looking at, the past 5 conquests here, but they change feats every time. And if you look at the pattern of their feats, the feats in Conquest usually incentivize farming the new shiny thing, right? So I imagine that there's going to be some payoffs for Obi-Wan in the future. I just don't know that it's going to be the best long-term investment. But like I said, your mileage may vary. Let me know down below what you think. Finally, I want to take a look at some of the team options for Amidala. I've been trying to game this out. This was yesterday before Padawan Obi-Wan was announced. Basically the thought experiment here is, if you only have Queen Amidala, based on the kits that we know, what would her teams be? Now, I am leaning more towards a defensive use for her. I'm a player that, at this point in the game, I have a ton of offensive tools. I don't have a ton of defensive teams, right? And that's true of anybody, Kyber, or High Rhodium, you've got a lot of ways to clear things like Jabba the Hutt, like Lord Vader, like Rey, even with this new datacron. So you're really much more interested in defensive teams than you may be in offensive teams. So I'm looking at her from an offensive standpoint, and this is, a defensive standpoint, and this is what I've got, right? So, again, this is before I knew Padawan Obi-Wan, but assuming, hey, you've got Queen Amidala, you don't have the 2 marquees, how are you going to use her? Grandmaster Yoda feels like a complete shoo-in for me, right? He's high relic for a lot of people. You've got him at relic 8 for Jedi Master Kenobi, but he doesn't really live anywhere. He's got use with Jedi Master Kenobi, of course. He's usable with JML, depending on what you're using JML for. Or honestly, often I end up throwing him just on a Omicron Qui-Gon Omicron Qui-Gon team. I apologize. Like I said, it was a late night. So Amidala, Grandmaster Yoda, and then I threw Padme on here. Now, Padme prevents turn meter gain, both from your team and the other team. I thought at this point, there's not a ton of turn meter gain here. Padme is a good defensive option, keep you from being, TM trained, so throw her in. Barriss Offee, another very defensive Galactic Republic character. And then Luminara Unduli, and you notice I named this team, probably not Lumi. Luminara Unduli is so interesting and frustrating, right? She has this great Omicron on her second special that the special itself recovers health tied to her max health, and then gains a stack of heal over time for 2 turns, and that special heal over time also heals for a percentage of her max health. The Omicron in Grand Arenas says dispel all debuffs on allies. Allies gain tenacity up for 2 turns. Luminara gains 50 speed for 2 turns. Stacks of heal over time gained from this ability trigger when any heal over time from this ability triggers. Limit once per turn. And whenever they trigger, they also recover 20% protection. While allies have a stack of heal over time from this ability, they've got 100% crit avoidance. They're immune to turn meter reduction. And whenever a stack of heal over time from this ability is dispelled, reduce the cooldown of this ability by 1. On its face, this sounds amazing, right? It sounds like a great Omicron. The problem when we look at it, it says at the bottom, other allies with protection up can't gain these bonuses. And these stacks of heal over time expire on other allies who gain protection up. Well, who gives protection up? Padme Amidala lead, Jedi Master Luke lead, Jedi Master Kenobi lead. Heck, even Grandmaster Yoda, just being on the team, is giving out sources of protection up. So Luminara has had this great Omicron and no great place to use her, right? She's got some use under Starkiller, but ultimately she's not worth the Omicron investment. When Amidala was announced, you've got this new Galactic Republic leader who has specific synergy with heal over time, which is kind of Luminara's thing. The thought immediately was, yes, finally a place for the Lumi Omicron, and unfortunately, Amidala's leadership Omicron grants protection up, which hurts Luminara. And then more than that, Amidala's unique prevents cooldown manipulation. Now, this is one of the more heavy-handed things they did in her kit to prevent using Commander Ahsoka Tano with her. But it prevents cooldown manipulation of any kind, which means that Luminara, that ability that we mentioned, the Omicron, gives it a way to reduce its cooldown, because otherwise it's got like a 5-turn cooldown. So, probably not Luminara, right? So what other options do we have? Well, I call this one Suck at Kenobi, because we're taking General Kenobi from JMK, letting JMK have a lesser, Galactic Republic tank. Let him have Plo Koon or something. And then you've got Amidala, General Kenobi, Grandmaster Yoda, Padme Amidala, Barriss Offee. And I think this is probably the best use of Queen Amidala if you don't have her marquees, right? This is a very stout, very defensive team, but it doesn't bring a lot of damage. Obviously, Jedi Master Kenobi's team brings a lot of damage by having Cat, who can just leap somebody and insta-kill them. And then the fact that Jedi Master Kenobi himself is high damage. Padme, her team gets stacks of courage, which lets them ramp their damage. Gas gets high damage for his team. Omicron Qui-Gon, whenever he dies, his team gets high damage. There's nothing with Amidala until Padawan Obi-Wan is added that gives damage. So that's the only problem here. But this is a very defensive way to use Amidala. 2 other maybe interesting options. Queen Amidala with Grandmaster Yoda, Barriss Offee, and then Shaak Ti and Clone Sergeant. Clone Sergeant is one that everybody has at Relics for Jedi Master Kenobi, or, if you've got Jedi Master Kenobi, you have Sarge at Relic 5, and he doesn't do a lot. His ship is kind of okay. He doesn't really fit on any of the big teams, but he's got an interesting, if simple, kit. His basic deals 50 or deals damage to target enemy, but gains 50% turn meter on a critical hit. Queen Amidala has ramping, stacking critical chance and critical damage that she hands out to her team. So the thought was, hey, Clone Sergeant would be great for that. Let him ramp up a little bit. He can be the damage. Shaak Ti, of course, is another one of those Jedi who has a really good, really versatile kit, and you have her at high relics, but she doesn't really have a home anywhere, right? She babysits the 501st if you don't have gas. She babysits the Bad Batch until that team is complete, but ultimately she's kind of a free agent. So having her in for the clone synergy with Clone Sergeant, and just in general as, an AoE dispel assist, all that seems good, right? So that's one thought with Amidala, and then the last thought, I say, okay, but hear me out. Just have Amidala with Bad Batch, right? On my other account, I have the 4 Bad Batch at Relic 5, but I don't have Omega yet. So I may try this, I haven't dug too far into the synergy, but Amidala is ultimately a generic Galactic Republic lead. I don't think Bad Batch are specifically going to synergize with her well, but, it's something you can do. But now that we know things, we know about Padawan Obi-Wan, let's take a look at what those teams are going to look like, because I think this is more where we're at. Again, that bottom one, I say I wish that once you have Padawan Obi-Wan, which we've got old Ben as a stand-in, and Master Qui-Gon, which we've got Qui-Gon Jinn as a stand-in, I think the guarantee is that Grandmaster Yoda is on this team. The way he is spreading buffs, the way he plays well with really all of their kits, and the way he is a high relic character who's kind of a free agent, I just don't see Grandmaster Yoda not being on this team. So the 5th slot is the one that I have questions about. And without knowing more about Master Qui-Gon's kit, which once we know Master Qui-Gon's kit, things will change. I think Barriss Offee is the winner here, right? Barriss has really tanky unique that can really help prop up the team. She doesn't bring a lot of damage, but with Padawan Obi-Wan, he looks like he's going to be a really heavy hitter, and then Grandmaster Yoda is kind of a secondary damage and also supporting the team. But maybe, hopefully, maybe we'll have some random event that Master Qui-Gon makes Luminara an interesting prospect. I don't see any reason to think that this will happen, but rebellions are built on hope, right? And I'd love a reason to gear Luminara and put that Omicron on her if I thought that even some of that ability would be really useful. I'd put it on the team. I don't see it happening. It's super unlikely, but we'll see. But those are my thoughts. We've got this new character coming. That's my thoughts on the Omicron and what I think Queen Amidala is going to look like. Obviously, we'll have a more complete picture when Master Qui-Gon hits the scene. Like I said, just looking at how Padawan Obi-Wan's kit is written, it's very obvious the 3v3 team is going to be Amidala, Padawan Obi-Wan, Master Qui-Gon. So the only question in my mind is, what 2 are we going to add for 5v5? Amidala herself has GAC Omicrons. With Padawan Obi-Wan getting a Conquest Omicron, I honestly don't know what to expect with Qui-Gon. I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be a Raid Omicron, and that we'll have 2 Raid Omicrons this raid, but we'll have to see on that. We do know, CG did announce that both Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon will be hero units in this raid, similar to how Beskar Mando was a hero unit in the Crate raid and had specific buffs and changes to his kit to make him stand out a little bit. Both Padawan Obi-Wan and Master Qui-Gon will. So if you're somebody who's planning on, trying to keep up with the raid, I would definitely have these marquees on your radar. They're not going to go farmable until sometime in July. So chances are, unless you're somebody who buys into these marquees, that you're not going to have these when the raid first hits. But you'll be farming them, and hopefully, a little bit after the raid coming out, you'll have these unlocked. If you are somebody who wails on these, if you unlock a 7-star Padawan Obi-Wan during the marquee event, you will unlock a special datacron, and they call it a God, what's the word they use? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Let me go back to the kit reveal. Exclusive. They call it an exclusive Padawan Obi-Wan datacron. That's a first-time reward for the penultimate tier of his marquee, which requires a 7-star Padawan Obi-Wan. Now, keep in mind, we're not sure that this is going to have the new marquee structure. All we know is that was specifically for Gungans. It may not be the case this time, right? But if you get a 7-star Obi-Wan during the marquee event, you can get this exclusive datacron. The question is, what does exclusive mean, right? Is it exclusive right now? Is it something that's going to be tied, say, to the datacron set that is currently running with Jedi? Maybe it's an exclusive way to get that level 9 for this set, but then in later sets, say a Galactic Republic set, that level 9 can come up and be something that anybody can get, as per normal. Or is this something that you're only going to get this from the marquee? And if you're only going to get this from the marquee and it's never going to come back again, how long are you going to have this? When does it expire? Does it ever expire? People have some consternation about this. I would say, put your pitchforks down for now. Let's see what the details say. Let's see what CG says about this. Obviously, there's a lot they've got to clarify. But for me, that's not a concern. The only concern for me is, will I have these for the raid? The answer, I think, is going to be no, I'm not going to have these for the launch of the raid. I don't think many players are going to have these for the launch of the raid. But I think early on in the raid's lifetime, especially if you are focused on them the minute they go farmable, then you can have them pretty quickly. So anyway, I know that was a long video. I know that was rambling. I'm stumbling over my words a lot. Like I said, I had a late night last night dodging tornadoes, and then later today I've got a medical procedure, so I haven't had to have even a glass of water this morning. So if I seem like I've got a little bit of dry mouth, that's why. But thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down below, and may the Force be with you.